Hello everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to this episode of Chaya Chats. We have a very distinguished and special guest for this episode. In fact, I think he would object to me calling him a guest even. Our guest is our Joseph Mar Ivanios Episcopa. Welcome back to the Matuma Church in Singapore. It's very good to have you.
Good afternoon, Siddharth. Yeah.
So, we have a number of questions that the youth have sent and that other people have sent. And one of the first questions is about your name, your new name, Joseph Mar Ivanios. Did you choose it? If not, who chose it? How did it come to be? And could you tell us a little bit about the name?
Thank you, Siddharth, for asking this question to me. With regard to your question regarding my name, according to the tradition of the church, particularly in the Oriental Christian Episcopal tradition, this name has been given by the Metropolitan. And this time, Metropolitan gave me this name, and he announced my name at the time of consecration service. My name, Joseph Mar Ivanios. Joseph is my first name, and Mar Ivanios is my surname. And Ivanios is the Greek name for a 5th century church theologian, John Chrysostom. He was one of the best known teachers in the church history. And we have one Philippos Mar Chrysostom in the Malangara Marthama Syrian Church. I am fortunate to hold that name, even though I am not worthy to, hold the great heritage of those two great theologians of the church.
So, if I may ask, all of us have a name, but when we are given our name, when we are born, we are too small to understand anything about our name. Yeah. So what was your first reaction on hearing this name? That is, this is your new identity. You are taking on this illustrious heritage of many distinguished theologians and even bishops of our church. What was your first thought and reaction?
Yeah, of course, it was a great moment for me on two grounds. Primarily, the great legacies that these two theologians, created in history. 5th century theologian and church father John Chrysostom has created a foundation for Christian theology and Christian priesthood. And the 20th century theologian and a popular speaker of the Matuma Church, and of course he was the Metropolitan, Philippos Mar Chrysostom, created a wider framework for spirituality, an all-inclusive framework for spirituality. See, as soon as I heard my identity as Mar Ivanios, what I thought was, I have a great responsibility to combine the rich theological tradition of John Chrysostom and the inclusive approach of Philippos Mar Chrysostom. So I am glad to Metropolitan and the Episcopal Synod, and of course give thanks to God for that particular name and identity. Yeah.
Okay, no, thank you. That's a very interesting backstory to the name. Did you have much interaction with Philippos Mar Chrysostom Thirumeni? I know that he was the chief guest at one of our church camps, our Pulau Ubin church camp, and you were the vicar at the time. Yeah. And any other interactions that you remember with him, whose identity now you partly bear?
Yeah, well, I started my priestly ministry with late lamented Dr. Alexander Matuma Metropolitan. Alexander Matuma Metropolitan was the first bishop in the Malangara Marthama Syrian Church who stepped down from his post
while alive
for his successor, Philippos Mar Chrysostom Matuma Metropolitan. And one, remarkable thing that can be noticed is when he stepped down, Alexander Matuma Metropolitan and Philippos Mar Chrysostom Metropolitan lived together in the
really?
same residence, Pulathin.
Oh, really?
It was during
Very
that
interesting.
time I was the chaplain to Alexander Marthuma Metropolitan. In that sense, because of my office as a secretary or personal secretary, chaplain to the Metropolitan,
And he was living in the same house?
Yes,
yeah?
I got the opportunity to be with him. In that sense, I'm
Yes,
a kind
yes,
of a
you had a
secretary
lot.
to him too.
Correct, correct.
So I got the opportunity for about 1 year to stay with him, move with him, and of course to learn from him.
And so this would have been in the late 1990s, maybe 99,
Yeah, from
2000, something like that.
Yes, 1999 to 2000. Yeah. So that was one of the memorable time in my memories.
Okay. I didn't know that, and thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that. One of the questions that we have is about how the job of an episcopal bishop differs from that of an Achen. So the layman like me will see, okay, you wear the different clothes.
Yeah.
The headdress is different.
Yeah.
Some would say the beard is different also.
Yeah.
But how does the job and the role differ? And what are some differences that most people don't realize actually?
Yeah. Well, your question can be answered in two ways. One, in the prima facie level, when you look at the mission and the ministry of an episcopal or a bishop, is similar to that of a priest. That means the administration of the sacraments, teaching ministry, then administrative functions, and of course some defending the faith of the church. But in the deeper level, episcopal is the defender of faith.
Is that the meaning of the word?
Yes, defender of the
I didn't know.
faith. And defender of the faith means he is expected to keep the apostolic faith without any fail. That shows his academic and research aptitude should be continued.
I see.
That is the one thing. So that means he should be a good researcher in knowing the apostolic teaching traditions and the apostolic teachings, doctrines, faith, and all those things. In that sense, I think a bishop's task is to study well, and to make a clearer understanding about church doctrines, church administration, church constitution, that kind of things. The second level is the administrative responsibility. Bishop means overseer. Episcopos means overseer. So he has the overseering responsibility of all parishes and institutions in the diocese. Nowadays, all institutions and the parishes has a spiritual dimension as well as administrative and legal dimensions. So whenever any problem or any challenges arose in a particular parish context or in an institution context, the bishop has to resolve that issue. So administrative responsibilities are much higher than the priest. The priest has to look after only one institution, but the bishop has to look after the concerns and the challenges of many, more than maybe 100 institutions, maybe more than 150 or 200 institutions. And the administrative function. Then the third is the spiritual function. He's the shepherd of the shepherds. That means a minister's a bishop's responsibility is to provide the spiritual nurturing and the spiritual care to the priests, deacons, then celibates, and that kind of people. In that sense, he's a spiritual father. He should remain as a spiritual father to the shepherds of the church.
So the other clergy, basically.
Clergy, deacons, and others. And as the second task is his responsibility to teach the folk, teach the people of God. So the teaching ministry is one of the key and the crucial task of a bishop. Yeah.
So you've been a bishop now for about 7 months.
Yes.
What has been, you think, one of the things about the role that you didn't expect? Some surprising aspect for you?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, every moment is new. So in that sense, there is a challenge and the surprising aspect involved in every moment challenges. Then coming to another dimension, people who live in culturally, religiously different locations. So the locations create certain specificities for the challenges. For instance, I have to look after the diocese, newly formed diocese of UK, Europe and Africa. So the context of Africa is entirely different from
the US
or Europe. So I have to be aware of the cultural differences in those areas and the cultural nuances that involve and construct history of the particular nation. So I should be a very, what we call a thorough researcher in analyzing all these factors. Otherwise, my ministry would have been not in the way that God expects me to do.
You almost have to be a kind of, I don't know if anthropologist is the right
It's
word,
true,
but to understand where people are coming from in order to kind of minister to them.
Yes, true.
I didn't realize the Matuma Church has many parishes in Africa.
Yeah.
What are some of the parishes in?
Yeah, we have one parish in Pretoria.
In
we have a
South
property
Africa.
and we have our own church building. We had a school there. At present, the school administration is not run by our church. We have a prayer group in Botswana. We have one prayer group in the Nigerian area.
I see.
And we have more than, I think, 10 prayer groups in Africa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So one other question we had is there a daily routine that you have, or that, what is the day in the life of a bishop like? Or is it like each day is so different from the other? There are many events you have to officiate and be present at, or is it there's some cadence and routine that you try to follow?
Yeah, of course, the primary function is to deepen my piety, my personal relation with the God, with the Lord. So my day starts with prayer, Bible reading, and meditations. Of course, in 5 o'clock in the morning, and then 7 o'clock we have a chapel service, and after that some reading for half an hour, then some visitations of the people at the place where I live, then public meetings, then email correspondences, office work, then travel, then in the evening also the same spiritual exercises. In between, some Holy Kurbana need to be celebrated. So these are some of the routine works that we have to do. And sometimes certain unexpected work also comes.
Yeah.
For example, we are running a lot of schools.
Yes.
So, any kind of concerns can arise from a particular school. And at such situations, the bishop has to give certain advices, some instructions to resolve that the challenges that we come across. Yeah.
That school is facing.
Yes, true. Yeah, true. Yeah.
One unique thing about you and your trajectory before becoming a bishop is that you moved back and forth between academic life and pastoral life, maybe more than other Achens had. Even I think during your time as an Achen, there was a period where you were teaching at the seminary, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So how do you feel these are different, and what do you think is the biggest difference between those two lives in some sense, or are they very complementary to each other?
I think it's both mission as a parish priest, working in the seminary or in the university, and the bishop life. I think both are quite complementary, but the amount of work and the volume of work, of course, has its difference. One good thing is, basically, I love learning. Therefore, I spend time in reading and researching. So when I was teaching at the Marthama Theological Seminary and in some other universities, I consider it as an opportunity to learn the things and to engage with the young, fresh minds, to get more knowledge from them like people like you, if I go to a university and engage with the students there, then I consider it as a God-given opportunity for me to engage with such students studying in the university, which is a bit different from the theological university academic realm. In that sense, I consider all such assignments are complementary for my ministry. Yeah.
So, a few questions about formative experiences in your life, looking back.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier today that you felt the 3 years you spent in Singapore were at a time when you were trying to understand what is the direction of God's calling for you,
Yeah.
and so on. But were there experiences even in your childhood or earlier on that you now looking back think that, oh, that was quite important, that directed me in some particular way? Is there something that stands
Yeah,
out
of
in your
course,
mind?
my parents' dedicated life and their instigation to remain in the vocation that they discern in their life about their son. Actually, that was one of the main point that
I see.
struck in my mind. Even before I developed my ability of discernment or discerning power, they were successful in bringing their decision to send the second son to the ministry. That was, I think, crucial for me. Then another second factor that influenced me a lot was the remote location where I grew up. The life there in the village, one of the remotest village, and the very poor academic life there. Even though there were difficulties in the facilities that I received from those village in academic career, but I got certain positive virtues to further my academic work by overcoming obstacles in front of me. I think the technique that I received from my village life. So whatever obstacles in front of me, my village life taught me that there's
You
no
can
problem.
overcome them.
You can go. If
you-
you have a vision, then definitely you can go and find this, way out of that situation.
So you made a sort of those early difficulties showed you that you can, with God's help, overcome challenges.
Yes, true. Yeah. That means, with the help of God and God's guidance, you yourself can construct a new pathway in your academic or career life, This is what I learned from my village.
And you are the second son. That way, how many siblings do you have?
I have 3 siblings, 2 sisters and 1 brother.
One or two other questions on this theme about friends. Most people think of a bishop or episcopa as father figure, as someone to go to for guidance, someone who is leading the church. But bishops are also human beings, and they also have need for friendship and have friends. So could you maybe speak a little bit about how maybe earlier friendships have enriched your spiritual life, and whether, looking back, how you think about?
Yeah, basically, well, it is a very nice question. We all are social animals, and we need social network. And bishop also needs social, networks and that kind of things. As a priest for more than 26 years in ministry, I have friends all across the world, irrespective of the age limit. I'm a friend of your vice president too. So he belongs to another age group, and your youth secretary belongs to another age group. I'm a close friend of a student who studies at the Sunday school too. So I think that is one of the good things that God gave me, the potential to relate with them, irrespective of their age group. I think that is one of the virtue that I got from God Almighty. So therefore, I do not find any difficulty in friendship and that kind of things. Yeah.
One other question is, who does a bishop go to for guidance? I mean, everyone has mentors,
I
and
see.
we think of Achens and bishops as mentors, spiritual mentors. You know, in the past, how you see mentorship and how that has played a role in your journey.
Yeah. Well, in the academic level, I have very respectful teachers and professors. If anything important to be done, I just consult with them in India as well as in Europe. They always give better directions. So, in that sense, I'm fortunate to have such kind of long line of friends. And in the administrative line, of course, I consult with the Metropolitan. So Metropolitan is my mentor. And the senior bishops.
Yes.
Senior bishops. I never do anything without the consent or without their advice. So this is the way actually I work. So in my life, of course, I have a mentorship. If I need any kind of a secular political approach, then I have certain trusted people. I just trust them completely. And then I ask. I don't have any problem for asking some help or assistance from anyone else. If I want to know something from economics, definitely I approach Siddharth. Yeah. Because no human being is perfect.
Yeah, and can know everything.
Yeah.
So maybe now let's talk a little bit about your time here in the Matuma Church in Singapore in 2006 to 9.
Yeah. Well, this church indeed a training ground for my ministerial formation. Not only this church, all churches and all institutions. But what's special to the Singapore Matuma Parish can be summarized in 3 levels. One, this church consists of people who belongs to different intellectual levels. For instance, most of them are occupying very high positions in the secular, administrative, and academic levels. So working with them actually deepened my understanding of how to run an institution in a secular perspective. That is the one good thing. Second aspect is, from the Singapore Matuma Parish, I got the technique of how to handle a committee meeting or a general body meeting using the consensus model of administration. Everyone has their own
opinion.
Views and opinions. But finally, we can converge into a point of a consensus model. I think the consensus model of problem resolving technique that I learned from this parish. Third level, the importance of spoken language, because I grew up in village until the 12th standard. I didn't get any chance to converse in English or any other languages apart from my mother tongue Malayalam. So this church actually opens a new arena of speaking not in tongues, but of course speaking in other language,
in a different tongue,
in English, in a different tongue. So in that journey, I think this church helped me a lot. I think Casey Cherian, in that sense, was my professor in that sense. Whenever I write an article, I just give that article to him for editing, and he will suggest certain editorial remarks. And such experiences polished my linguistic talents. Another person, of course, there was a person called Shibuiti.
Shibu Iti, he's a journalist.
Shibu Iti also helped me a lot in that sense. And of course, your brother,
Rohan,
who taught me
German.
some German. So all those assistance that I received from this parish indirectly molded me for a better service for the church and for the Lord.
Thank you. That was really very helpful. And of course, as you said, after practicing a different tongue, English here, in a few years you were speaking in a different tongue altogether in German.
Yeah, that's true.
In 3 or 4 years after leaving here.
Well, I'm very thankful to God that, as soon as I got admission at the University of Bern, and they gave me an opportunity to pursue my language studies at the University of Freiburg, and they offered me scholarship. By God's grace, they allowed me for 1 year for the language studies. But by God's grace, I just took 1.5 months
That's
intensive
amazing.
program, and I completed that one, A level 1, essential requirement for studies. So I think I just got
you're good at
momentum from
languages,
this
yeah.
parish, I think, yeah.
Or you may have a gift for speaking languages and
Yeah,
picking
true.
up languages.
Yes, true.
Just a few last short questions. These are more informal questions.
Okay.
Okay. One of the questions is, what are your hobbies? How do you relax?
Number one, yeah, usually I do not get much time, relaxing time. But when I get time, I listen spiritual songs. The second one, I love pets.
You love pets?
Yeah.
Okay.
So wherever I go, if I see some cat or a dog, then I definitely get a better energy from them. Then the third is, of course, reading, actually, making me much more happier. And walking. I regularly walk. Then I regularly take some yoga. These are some of the relaxing. I'm not a sportsman.
No.
Of course, you look at me, you can find it that I'm not a sportsman.
That I can't tell.
Yeah?
Okay, last, this is the quick fire round of questions.
Yeah.
So I ask a question. The theme is, what are some of your favorite things? Okay. So favorite verse in the Bible.
Whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ear will hear a voice from behind saying, this is the way, walk in it. So I will always look into the interiority to hear that voice.
Favorite hymn?
Favorite hymn, it's a Malayalam one. എൻ്റെ ദൈവം മഹത്വത്തിൽ ആർദ്രവാനായി ജീവിക്കുമ്പോൾ സാധു ജ്ഞാനി ക്ഷോണിതനിൽ.
Would you like to sing one stanza
of
for
course.
this?
എൻ്റെ ദൈവം മഹത്വത്തിൽ ആർദ്രവാനായി ജീവിക്കുമ്പോൾ സാധു ജ്ഞാനി ക്ഷോണി തന്നിൽ ക്ലേശിപ്പാൻ ഏതും കാര്യമില്ലെന്നെൻ്റെ ഉള്ളം ചൊല്ലുന്നു. ഏതും കാര്യമില്ലെന്നെൻ്റെ ഉള്ളം ചൊല്ലുന്നു.
Thank you. Favorite theologian?
Favorite theologian, of course, Jürgen Moltmann.
Oh, Jürgen Moltmann.
Yeah.
And favorite parish in India?
My parish. Trinity Matuma Church, Kochuvarikan.
Any other things you'd like to tell our spiritual community here in Singapore, or any last comments?
I think Singapore Matuma Parish can lead in innovating certain areas of spiritual nurturing to the worldwide Matuma Church. Because Singapore city-state is, even though it is a small state, but the people here comes from different corners of India.
Yeah.
And most of them are highly educated, talented, and at the same time spiritual too. So if we all sit together and to find and to develop a module for reaching out the children and the youngsters of the church, I think that would be beneficial. I think you can take a lead for that. That kind of a brainstorming would help us to keep the faith alive in this most secularized world.
Thank you for the wonderful hour and chat.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure to speak with you and to learn from you and also learn about you.
Thank you.
And I'm sure the people who are listening to this will be edified by it.
Thank you, Siddharth, for your thought-provoking and, of course, very good questions that really helped me to develop my areas of focus in my ministry as a bishop of the church. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.